If you're a pretty girl, you have to understand that you need to learn to protect and use your pretty privilege to your own benefit. You need to learn to harness your own power. And if you don't do any of this, you know what's going to happen? People are going to use your pretty privilege to their benefit, and they're going to try to make you believe that your pretty privilege and your power isn't really as powerful as it is, so that you will literally submit and you will actually not reap the benefits of the power that you truly hold. So, by using the power invested in me by this book, The 48 Laws of Power, written by a man, but given to us to freely use to our own benefit, yay, then we're going to talk about 10 laws of power that all pretty girls need to master to not get played and to claim their own power and grow it. The first law we're going to dive right into is law number 6, court attention at all costs, or as I like to call it, protect the prize at all costs. When you're a pretty girl, it's essential that you understand that you putting in effort to yourself is actually a way of protecting yourself as an armor. When you get up in the morning and you do your makeup, you put on your pretty outfit, your pretty dress, whatever it is you like to wear, that is you silently but visually making it very, very clear that you are aware of your own power. This is a very, very important law to master because it's very important to understand that there are a lot of beautiful women out there that constantly get played by men and by society because they're not aware of their beauty. A woman who understands her beauty knows to enhance it, even if she's drop dead gorgeous without makeup, because she understands that it's a way of secretly and very, very subtly scaring away the enemy, aka men, or actually making men more verbal. If you're the type of pretty girl who grew up and didn't really realize how much pretty privilege you had till you were older and you started pouring into yourself, you might have started to hear, wow, you don't need to do all that. You're beautiful as you are. I'm not really sure whether I would like you if you wear that much makeup. I liked you better before. Or, ooh, you're suddenly a diva, huh? This is actually the enemy, aka men, society, being triggered by the fact that you are actually now aware of your power, aware of your pretty privilege. They can see that visually. And the way they try to break you down is becoming very verbal about the fact that they don't really agree with that. Because now they can't have access to you as much as before. Because before you didn't realize your power. You were pretty. Outwardly, you were very pretty. And it was a power to their benefit. They could use you as their power without you realizing that you were a power. So you were more willing to give your power away because you thought it was just society and men being nice. But now, when you're putting an effort into yourself, they realize that you've clocked it too. And they don't like that because that means they won't have access to you as much as they had before. This is why it is essential for you to put effort into yourself. Putting on a nice outfit, getting your nails done, maybe even getting something else done if you like to get something else done. When they start to get verbal about, ooh, you shouldn't do all that, that's when you know they've clocked that you're stepping into your power and you should keep going, girl. The next law is make others come to you. Use bait if necessary, or as I like to call it, make them work for their access. You know why people are really, really happy when they're done running a marathon and they finally get their little medal? Because they put in the effort, they put in the hard work, they literally put themselves to work to be able to acquire that medal or that trophy. That is why that trophy is so valuable to them. When you are a pretty girl, it is very important that you understand that if you make yourself too accessible or you're the one who's always initiating contact, especially with men, you will become the participation trophy, not the actual trophy. You will be the participation medal that everyone can get just by showing up, not even doing anything. This is exactly what happens when you let men have access to you too quickly They will not treat you like the prize because they didn't put in the work to be able to get the prize. This is why it's so important for you to let people do work. And if you're a pretty girl who's just recently realized how pretty you are, who just recently started glowing up, who just recently started stepping into your power, you know what might linger underneath the surface? People pleasing, especially when you're a woman in today's society. I mean, women in general, throughout generations and generations, centuries, have been raised to be people pleasers. We've been raised to let men have whatever it is they want as soon as they say it, because we feel like, ooh, if someone raises a need or a want, that means we have to supply it. And you know what? The men are not mad about that, because that means that they can get their needs, if you know what I mean, met quickly. But they won't see you, who gave you that, as a trophy. They will see you as a participation medal that is forced upon them. And if you've ever gotten a participation medal, it's not like you're particularly thrilled about showing everyone in your class or anyone in your family a medal you got for literally showing up. That's embarrassing. You couldn't do better. You couldn't do more. You didn't have the guts to go out and go for something that actually had higher requirements. When you're 35, your diploma from first grade is not really going to be an achievement, is it? No, because you didn't work for it. It was first grade. You're going to pass anyways. That is what men think when you just let them have access to you way too quickly, and when you are the one who's pursuing. And especially when you're a pretty girl, because they like the idea of having access to you. But if you're a pretty girl that they can have access to too easily, that means that everyone else can probably have access to you too easily. And then you're not really a trophy. Then it's like winning a pack of cookies and you have to share them with all your friends. We're all winners. It's sad, but it's true. Don't be the chaser, be the prize. Let them work. And don't be afraid to set boundaries, because you know what? They're going to have a blast trying to get to the point where they have you, because they have to do a little more. Kind of like a video game. That's how men think. You have to be obstacles. You have to present them with obstacles. They have to solve them so that they can win you, like a video game. You got to be Princess Peach. The next one is conceal your intentions. Or as I like to call it, let softness be a weapon, not a weakness. If you're a girl who just realized the power of your pretty privilege, it's essential that you understand that pretty privilege and femininity go hand in hand. When you come off as someone who is very soft, who's very feminine, who's, you're a receiver. And you can also very much do this visually through the way that you dress. This is a very important thing to do if you truly want to step into the power of your pretty privilege. Because you know what? Your face card is probably never going to decline, especially because you put effort into yourself. But if you're also not afraid of having a feminine look once in a while, like dresses, skirts, handbags, this will truly disarm people, especially men, because men are visual creatures and they have a tendency to draw very strong conclusions based on just how you look. I have 57 tattoos, but I know strategically to not always have them on show if there are certain things that I want, because I understand that if I lead with my femininity, I wear a long sleeve, beautiful dress with flowers, then people are going to assume I'm just some girly girl who likes makeup and nail polish and labubus. And that's the only thing that's going through my mind. You know what that will do? That will make it easier for you to move in silence. Move in silence. Because when you don't come off as a threat, which you won't do if you're a pretty girl and you kind of like just have that little feminine ditzy, oh, I'm so girly, then you making some strategic moves are not going to be seen as much of a threat, because you're not alluding to it through the way that you dress. You're alluding to be a girly girl. You're not alluding to be a smarty girl who knows everything, who clocks everything. And this is where you can use your pretty privilege to step into better environments where you can actually reveal your intelligence more, because these environments actually appreciate more intelligence. But this is also why it's very important to not always reveal all of your strategic decisions, like telling men about the fact that you are watching my videos. Don't tell them, girl. Like, why are you telling them? And if a guy asks what my videos are about, just show them a picture of me. And they're going to think I'm stupid because I'm so beautiful. No, but jokes aside, if you look really pretty, like men are gonna assume that you're stupid, and you can use that to your benefit because men are gonna think, oh, she probably has nothing going on. And you know what? Then you can make them do more for you because they're just gonna think, oh, she's helpless. And while they do more for you, you have more space, more time to move mad. Yeah. The next law is use absence to increase respect and honor, also known as disappear to build obsession. A woman who's always seen, who's always showing up, who's always available is not desired. A woman who's literally on a man's or society's beck and call, she's a pushover. She's a doormat. She is essentially a people pleaser. And you know what? Society loves that woman because they can make her do their dirty work. And she's just waiting and waiting for the reciprocation that society has promised her, and that all of these fairy tale movies about princesses that do this and this and that for everyone, and now they're gonna get the love back. No, that's not how this works. The only way people are actually gonna be able to clock that you are a pretty privileged girl who understands your power is if you clock that you need to be willing to walk away, you need to be willing to retract your power, and you need to be willing to just kind of like disappear out of thin air sometimes. And I'm not saying you have to isolate yourself. That's another law. Maybe we'll talk about it. Maybe we'll not. You cannot isolate yourself. This is not about you literally like just disappearing and no one ever seeing you, because that's also dangerous, because then more people that are close to you can get access to you and they will infiltrate you and break you down, especially because you're more likely to reveal to them that you are trying to work on your power if you have no one else to talk to. Scarcity is an economic principle that makes commodities seem more valuable. Think about the Birkin bag. You know the Birkin bag is something that you can get, but you also understand that in order to get the Birkin bag, you probably need to have a rapport at the Hermes store. You need to go there and buy stuff. You need to show up and you need to actually put in effort in order to gain access to even be considered to get the bag. That is exactly how you're gonna have to think about yourself. You know why the bags at Marshall's are at Marshall's? And why their prices are literally so low, and you're like, you know what? I don't even know if I want it. When you go to Marshall's and you look at some clothes or some stuff, you're like, you know what? If they ended up in Marshall's, maybe there's a reason they're not that good. That's because there's so much of them that people don't think that they're valuable. This is also why I actually do encourage the baddies to study economics in their free time. You don't have to go read like deep books about it or anything. Even just watching YouTube videos about economics can be a really good thing, because then you will also be able to understand that you gatekeeping yourself, you literally withdrawing yourself from people that are not pouring into you, is what actually drives up your value. You only being seen in certain establishments. As soon as you put a Birkin bag in a slouchy, disgusting bar, that Birkin bag is going to lose its value real quick because it's going to be handled by all the drunk people that are singing karaoke. As soon as you drive a car off the lot after having bought it, the value decreases immediately. And again, I'm not saying you're a materialistic thing, but sorry to say it like that, that's exactly how men see you. And also, sometimes it's better for us to see ourselves as something materialistic, a material thing, because we have a tendency to value material stuff more than we even value our own soul, our own power, and our own body. Because I know for a fact that there are certain things that you own that you wouldn't play about, but when it comes to your own sanity, you're out here getting played. The next law is work on the hearts and minds of others, which I like to call reward what benefits you and ignore what doesn't. This law is actually basically the law of attraction. What your attention is put on is where energy is gonna flow. And a lot of the time, where we go wrong as women when we're stepping into our power is because we end up focusing on all of the things that we don't like, all of the things that we disagree with, especially with men. And this is exactly how men harvest our power, because you know what? They like to discuss, they like to argue, they like to go into arguments about this and this and that, because you know what that means? It means that you're giving energy towards them. They understand this principle very, very well. If they can make you argue, if they can make you emotional, if they can make you talk about this and this and that, even if it's something you don't agree with, and you're thinking that, oh, you know what? I'm bringing this to attention to him, and like he needs to change this, and I don't like this. Then you think that it's because you're going to change things. No, you know what they think? I'm getting her energy. I'm getting her energy, and it's going to leave you completely dead. It's going to leave you de-energized, and you know what's going to happen? You're not going to have the energy to put in effort to yourself. You're going to have spent that energy on him, and now you can go and put your energy into your own growth, and he's going to have won. This is exactly why it is very important that you put energy and you put attention towards the things that do benefit you, the things that you do want. And whenever someone does something you don't want, think to yourself, will my future husband, will people that I like to be around me in the future do this? And if you don't think that that's something you would want to have around, don't go arguing about it. Just say, oh, okay, I appreciate your point. That's an interesting perspective. And then make sure whenever someone does anything that actually truly benefits you, that's when you reward them. Us women, we believe in unconditional love, which means that if someone is not giving us anything, we're still willing to give everything because we hope that someday that's going to mean that they're going to reciprocate. Not understanding that if we're rewarding men like a dog who's biting people, like literally giving treats, giving attention to a man who's literally doing what he shouldn't be doing, then in his head, in the man's head, who's literally like it's the same as the dogs. And dogs are sometimes smarter. Like dogs have actual jobs. Like girl, there are dogs that are actually in employment while you're probably dating some guy who doesn't have a job. Like girl. Anyways, if you give him treats, if you give him attention for something that he doesn't do right, he's actually just going to think of that as attention. And he's going to be willing to do it more because he knows he can trigger you into having a reaction. And that's going to make you stick around. This is very, very important that we only reward good behavior. Good boy. Whenever he gives you something, whenever he brings you something. You know what? We can actually train men to play fetch. Whenever he's out, ask him to bring you something, a little something. Oh, honey, could you bring me a sparkling water from the gas station? Oh, honey, you know what? I would really like this thing. And whenever he does bring it to you, you're going to be like, oh my God, thank you so much. I love how you always think of me. You know what? That man is going to be wagging his tail in his head and he's going to be wanting to do more for you. This is exactly how you flip the narrative. And you stop being so gosh darn frustrated about all of the things that a man or society are doing wrong. And you start stepping into the power of actually magnetizing what it is that you want and only rewarding whatever it is that comes into your life that is something you actually want. This is the pure law of attraction because you're shifting your focus from everything you don't want. Oh, I don't like this about him. I don't like that about him to, okay, you know what? I'm going to reward him for everything he does do right. And the reason why it's a very important law for you to clock as a pretty woman is because if you do not know how to clock this law, men will use all of this bad energy or all of these discussions against you to harness your energy so that you won't have any energy left to put effort into yourself. That will make you less pretty. And that way you will have less options. His arguing with you is actually his way of making sure that you have less power to invest into yourself. He's using your pretty privilege because he likes to argue with a pretty lady and get attention. And you are shrinking your pretty privilege and your power because you are willing to feed into all of the negativity. So that's the only thing you're going to actually get more of in your life. Next one is avoid the unhappy and the unlucky. And you know what I like to call this one? Be the dream girl, not the therapist or the mother. If he's constantly emotionally unavailable, if he is like going through it or he's depressed or whatever it is, he's not a project girl. He's not someone who has potential. He is literally a liability. And you, before you know it, you're going to turn into the type of woman who's wondering why everything is going wrong in your life. And you're going to end up having a victim complex because you were willing to stoop down and try to help out of your good heart. Help out a guy to see his full potential. And you know what this guy's gonna be like? Oh yeah, if I just play this little sad guy, she's gonna do all of this for me. Gotcha. I'm gonna play smaller and smaller and smaller. She's gonna do more and more and more. This feeling of guilt that us women have been programmed to have leaves us to always stick around a man who is not doing what he needs to do, because we need to believe in the best in people. And we can't stomp on someone who's lying down. This guy is never gonna get up, girl. You're only gonna end up feeling more and more resentment. And you know what? You're probably gonna end up calling other women immoral because they walked away. And men are gonna call you immoral too. That's what they try to push on women. They want a woman who's gonna stick with him through thick and thin. While they would literally leave her if she got terminally ill. Look up the statistics. Look up the statistics of men leaving women when they're sick versus women leaving men when they're sick. They speak for themselves. And again, this is another way that men harvest your pretty privilege to their benefit. Men know if they pull the mental health and depression card on you, you're going to be willing to do everything for this man. And that way, you will end up actually losing a lot of your pretty privilege. You'll lose a lot of your power, a lot of your energy. You will lose a lot of your self-respect as well, because you think that your identity is actually built upon you doing everything for someone else. But your heart, your body is constantly going to tell you that something is wrong, because obviously it is going to be wrong. But your mind and your brainwashing is going to tell you, oh, I need to stick, I need to stick, I need to stick, or else I'm not a good girl. And you know what? Then your intuition is going to lose respect for you. And then everything is going to crumble. And you're going to probably sink into a very dark, deep hole of feeling like things are wrong and you can't explain why. And you don't understand why the world is doing all of this towards you. You're going to start saying that it's the world, it's everyone and their mom, it's everyone around you. Why are they not helping you? While in reality, you were the one who gave in to this idea of guilt that men are always pushing upon women, and now you're stuck. And also, men hate women that are their therapist and are their mother. They like to use them for their power, but then they're not going to see you as someone who's attractive. So they're going to want to go out and outsource. And I knew this girl who did everything for her man, and he was just sitting at home playing video games. She literally stole his money. And you know what this guy ended up suggesting? That they had an open relationship, because he's not attracted to her anymore, because she's being his mother, his therapist, his caretaker. But he still wanted the benefits of having her as breadwinner, maid, and occasionally someone to be with if there weren't other women available. Keep others in suspense, or as I like to call it, be seen but never solved. If you're a girl with pretty privilege, you're gonna have to get very, very good at not being an oversharer girly. You're going to have to get very, very good at being the type of girl who has a little bit of a mysterious aura around you, because you know what? That is truly what's going to magnetize your power, because it's first and foremost going to signal that you're happy with just sharing your own secrets, your own life with yourself. You do not feel the need to go out and get other people's validation that you're an interesting, cool person. You know that. And then they're going to be like, when they figure more out about you, maybe they start following you on social media and they're like, ooh, that's that. Wow, I didn't know that about that girl. Ooh. Or maybe, you know, the way you dress, the way you show up. Maybe they figure out you have a bunch of tattoos that they didn't see the first time they went on a date with you. Maybe they figure out that you actually have a successful business a long time after they started seeing you. Whatever it is good for you to have a air of mysteriousness. And that's not even about just the good things. It's good to keep a little bit of a lock on things that are good that you have going. You don't need to share everything that you're doing. You don't need to share every single project, especially not when it's brand new. It's going to make you invite evil eye. But another thing is, you should not be oversharing your past trauma with people that you just met. It's going to get you played, because people are going to sniff out a way to make you obey them. And then you lose your power. This is where pretty privilege is actually a really, really great power move. As I said before, it's really good for you to be very in tune with, you know, doing your makeup, looking good, all of this. Because if people are just going by what you look like, that's what people are naturally gonna supply to you. And whatever you bring up that you like, what you want to do, what you enjoy, that's what people are going to supply to you in order to figure you out, to try to break you down. Men are always going to try to bring you down. That is what they like to do. Like, that's the challenge in women. But the move you have to play is you need to be giving him tasks he needs to finish in the hopes that he's going to get to break you down. And the tasks he's going to have to finish is he's going to have to treat you really nice. He's going to have to give you material things, give you money, give you entrance to certain environment. And you're of course not going to say this like verbally, like you need to do this and this and that. I mean, if he's a really, really old dude, you can actually say that to him, because he clocked it that he's trying to date a young woman and you're trying to date an older guy. So he knows that the power dynamic is what it is. But with other men that are maybe a little bit older than you, you're going to have to be very good at alluding to things that you really like. Like you're a little girl, like, oh my God, I really love this. I really love this. I really love that. I'm really excited about this. I love traveling. I love doing this with my friend. He's going to be like, oh, I have to give that to her or else I'm not going to be able to have access to her. Let them have the challenge of trying to figure you out and stop oversharing. Stop. Never outshine the master. But we're actually flipping this law on its head. And I'm going to call it stop proving, start filtering, where people actually have to prove that they're good enough to stand in your light. While there are benefits of not outshining men, and we can also talk about that in another video, like you playing a little dumber, you using your pretty privilege to seem like, oh, maybe she's just pretty and that's it. What you also need to be very aware of is if you have pretty privilege, you have power. Your beauty is literally currency, which means that you don't have anything to prove to anyone. You don't have anything that you need to ask for permission for. People need to prove themselves to you. And the only reason why you end up in situations where you're the one who feels like you have to prove yourself to them is because they've clocked that you do not realize how powerful you are. And you think it's some noble thing to try to prove yourself to others. They think it's a very, very nice thing that you are playing yourself royally. This is where you have to let people prove themselves to you. And you have to understand that you do not need to dim your light. You do not need to dim who you are, what you want in your life, who you deserve to be in order for people to love you. They need to be able to prove to you that they can actually keep up with the fact that you're evolving and you're growing. If you're in the beginning stages of your self-growth, maybe it is a bit of a good idea to not be too apparent with the fact that you're trying to grow. But if you've done your self-work, you know what I say? Let it shine, because then you're at the point in your life where what you truly need to do is let your light shine. And you need to actually be kind of caught in the crossfire of people trying to pull you down. Because this is a pivotal moment in your self-growth, your pretty privilege, your powerful woman journey. You're going to feel like, gosh, it doesn't feel very good when I feel like I need to prove myself to other people, while in reality, I'm the one who's done the self-growth. And this is again where you need to stand in your power and you need to hold your power. You need to hold it. You need to actually sit with the power that you've been building for yourself instead of giving it away. Because what we like to do as women is that as soon as we have a lot of power, as soon as we have a lot for ourselves, we've been completely gaslit into believing that if we have more than enough, we need to give. And we need to give and we need to give because women give and give and give. While in reality, women are the receivers. Women are supposed to have a cup that's overflowing. But the only way we can actually step into a life where we understand that we deserve to have a cup that's flowing over is if we hold our power. And you know what? People are going to get mad at you. People are going to dislike you for not doing whatever it is they want you to do, for not shrinking yourself to their level. They're going to dislike you. Let them dislike you. Sit with the power of discomfort. Sit with the power of discomfort and understand that this is actually a power. If you can hold this power, you can hold any power. The most powerful women have to be very, very comfortable with being hated, with people trying to bring them down, with people trying to make them do whatever they want to do, because they want to domesticate your energy. They want your energy for themselves. They want to put that energy in a cage. They want to dig up the flower from its natural habitat and put it in a vase. And you know what happens when that flower goes in a vase? Within a couple days, it dies. When you take a nightingale and you make it try to sing for you, it's not going to want to sing for you. When you try to domesticate something beautiful to say that you've harvested it, it's not going to remain beautiful for very long. It's like when people try to treat a cat like it's a dog. They try to domesticate it. And you know what? Women are cats. So you need to step into your black cat girl energy where you understand that people need to prove themselves to you. And you don't mind if people dislike you. You're going to walk away and you're going to stand in your power and you're going to sit with that discomfort. You might cry a little bit about it, but that's going to make you stronger, girl. Be royal in your own fashion. Act like a queen to be treated like one. Or as I like to call it, be the fantasy, not the follow-up. A queen's got too much going on for herself to be able to stick around and try to beg someone to do more for her. She's going to know that she's going to be able to find it elsewhere if she needs to have someone do something for her. And that is exactly how she stays in her queen energy. That is how she actually is able to rule a country, because she's not afraid of being distant if she's not getting exactly what she wants. A queen sets her demands and then she lets
whoever needs to satisfy her demands follow up. She doesn't beg to stay in someone's mind. She lingers in people's minds because they want to know what she's thinking so they can serve her. Learn to keep people dependent on you. The power isn't being wanted, it's being needed. The true power of being a pretty privileged girly is understanding that your pretty privilege is currency, to the point where you understand that people need you. They need your feminine energy. They need your creative energy. They need your energy. They need your beauty to be able to sustain life. If you've ever listened to the song, This Is a Man's World, they actually do say that it wouldn't be nothing without a woman or a girl. Because the energy that a woman supplies in a man's life, especially when you're a beautiful woman who knows her worth, is actually extremely powerful to the man. The man knows that he's actually on a better standing if he has a woman on his arm that makes him look very good. This is why actually men want a trophy wife. This is why men want the high maintenance girly, but they want her at a discount. And they know that they can't actually be able to keep up her maintenance when they get her at a discount. And that's why they try to convince all of these girlies to settle for less, so that they don't feel bad about not being able to provide what they want for a woman, in order for her to be able to sustain the energy, the beauty, and the life that he truly craves. Men love a woman who's taken care of. Men love a woman who's beautiful. They want to take care of a woman, but a lot of men don't want to actually do that for women. They need that woman that is pampered, that's taken care of, that looks bougie so bad, because it will bring them prosperity. It will bring them success. It will make them seem like the man. This is why you have to be aware of all of these other laws. This is why you need to use these other laws to your benefit. Because if not, these men are going to try to play games on you to make you lower your price so that they get your energy for less. And you know what? They're not going to be able to keep up with your energy. They're not going to be able to supply you and make your cup overflow. So they're going to drain you until you don't have the energy they like anymore. And that's when they're going to move on to the next girl that they also can't afford, they also can't supply. And you know what they do a lot of the time? A lot of the times they actually use a beautiful woman that they've trampled on her ego, they've made her feel less than, they use her to build themselves up so they can actually afford, they actually have the energy, they actually have the resources for their dream girl. Because men want to provide, they want to be able to show a woman a good time, they want to be able to give her stuff. They need that. They need that to feel like a man, but they just don't want to admit it, because that will actually mean that they have to put in work in order for them to be able to realize their dreams. Men don't want to take that accountability. They don't want to step into that responsibility. So they just lure you in with love. So with this law, learn to keep people dependent on you, which is actually not you being wanted, but you being needed. Understand that you will always be needed if you make yourself the best version of yourself. But people, especially men, will try to bring you down because they cannot afford you. They want you at a discount, and they will do anything in their power to get you at a discount. They are dependent on you. They just don't want to admit that. That's why they flip the narrative and say you're dependent on them. That's also why you sometimes got to keep your options open when you're dating men and you are not sure whether this is a man who's actually going to be able to provide for you. If he truly sees you as valuable, he's going to put value into you. And your pretty privilege will actually blossom. It will grow in his company. If you've ever seen any of those pictures of women when they show a picture of like who they dated and what they looked like in that relationship and how that made them look not very good, that is literally because men are energy ciphers, and they will literally drain you for the access that you give them into society. Having a woman is a status symbol. Having a woman is a status symbol, but they don't understand that women don't see status symbols the same way as men. That's why they always tell us, oh, you'll stay single forever, because they think that men are also the prize. If women are the prize, maybe men are also the prize, but women are the prize, not the men. That's why women are a status symbol. It is a status symbol to have a woman. That's why they call it locking her down when they marry a woman, because it's a status symbol. And if you don't learn how to use these powers to protect your beauty, protect your pretty privilege, protect and be able to grow yourself, you will get played. Use these laws, because it will make you way more aware of the patterns that men are trying to use against you. The guilt card, you're going to be single forever, them trying to be the prize instead of you, them trying to make you do more labor for them so they can actually elevate themselves. them harnessing your power to the point where they're not attracted to you anymore, guard yourself. Guard yourself, girl. I love you, and I'll see you in the next video.